Hello and welcome to the Labour Social on Labour Social. I'm here with Ollie, Bowler Hatman, and also with Wayne in Basildon. How you doing? How's everyone down there? You're good? Wayne, can you hear me? Can you...
Oh no.
Ollie, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh good, at least you can hear me. Wayne's still having technical issues. Sorry, a bit late getting started. I don't know if you saw this afternoon, but I'm in London, ready for the big march tomorrow. But we're still trying to put out these live videos.
London 10.
Wayne looks like he's frozen. No, he's not. He's not.
No, I was literally just setting up the audio.
Oh, we can hear you. Yes.
Whee!
Amazing. Good stuff. Right. I'm just going to make my screen a little bit bigger.
Because where you sent me the link on WhatsApp, I've just had to manually type it in on my laptop.
Oh, shit. Can't you use WhatsApp web?
No, it's not synced because this literally the laptop is literally used for the podcast. I don't use it for anything else. Oh. So it's got nothing on it.
Do you know what, mate? I blame the Tories. What can I say?
Yeah.
It's all their fault. So
Tories and Vulcans.
I'm really sorry that we were late getting started tonight, but the real reason was that basically, you know, after a hard day of creating rubbish, I had 7 different bins to fill with rubbish, and it just took ages. It took all night to just put the right stuff in the right bin. It was very confusing. I've got a glass bin, I've got a plastic bin, I've got a food bin, I've got a garden waste bin, I've got a metal bin, and I'm run out. What other bins can you have?
It's all to prepare for that meat tax.
Oh, the meat tax.
That's the end of the world for us.
There was going to be a meat tax.
We're all going to have to go vegan.
It's just all a bit weird, isn't it? Like, he's just giving them a list of things that he's not even planning to do. And it's like, well, we could have destroyed Alderaan, but we chose not to.
Well, I was gonna.
Well done.
I was gonna call into James the other day when I was talking about the EPC stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously that affects me directly because that's my job.
Yes.
So we've had all these landlords, housing associations, local housing providers panicking to fuck because they've got so many houses that are so poorly insulated, poorly heated. Like they've got like old storage heaters. Some places haven't even got any heating whatsoever. They've just got like plug-in heaters. So this was to incentivize these housing providers to actually get their housing stock up to spec. And now he's gone, do you know what? Fuck it. It'll be all right. So now all these housing providers that were panicking because they was having to get this done by next year, they're all gone, oh, thank fuck for that. So they can just relax and,
and do nothing.
Yeah. And not spend any money on it. I mean, some of them, they've already they're locked into programs, so their budgets are already taken into account for this financial year. So we're all right up until April. But come April, they might revise it or go, do you know what? They don't give a monkeys about it, so we ain't gonna pay any more for it. So
I doubt anything's gonna happen. If it's next April, there might have been a general election then, or we might be preparing for one. Who knows what magical nonsense he's gonna come up with next, but it'll be something, I'm sure. That's for certain.
Yeah. It's just one of them in this particular industry, it's either feast or famine.
Yeah.
Because they'll introduce certain policies and we're like, yes. And then the next thing you go, no, we're going to pull the plug on that. Yep. I don't know if you remember the when there was a big subsidy on solar about 10 years ago.
Yes.
And because all the big boys came in and started buying up farms next to their...
Big boys came and bought the farms.
Well, no, it started with... Because I remember doing an EPC for this very disgruntled...
What's an EPC?
Energy Performance Certificate.
Oh, cool, man. You know all the lingo. It's like hanging out with a sailor. Where's the toilet? It's not a toilet, it's a head. You idiot. You fool. How can you not know what can you pass that rope? It's not a rope, it's a sheet. You idiot. You fool. Oh, God, I'm so sorry.
What kind of noise is this? You call this a sheep shank?
Oh, my God. Oh. Some sailors get very upset if you call their yacht a boat. It's not a boat. A boat's a submarine. And I'm like, what?
What?
What? 3 Men in a Boat was about people in a boat, not people in a submarine. I'm pretty sure. That was Das Boot. Anyway,
Or
sorry,
was
Wayne.
it? And that's
Sorry.
just the secret film that only the sailors know.
Well,
Anyway,
no,
Wayne, sorry, go on.
What this fella, he'd just been made redundant by British Gas, and he was telling me at the time because they had the energy secretary on the following week.
Yeah.
And basically, this guy came on and he questioned him because they cut the feed-in tariff from 44p to 22p 6 months early.
Right.
And this guy from British Gas explained to me that what was happening was all these big sort of car plants like Toyota, Nissan and all that were buying adjoining fields and just putting solar farms in the adjoining field and getting that feed-in tariff, which they were locked into for 25 years. And the government were having to pay that subsidy directly to these big companies. And I was like, shit, we can't do this. So they've had to cut the subsidy for Joe Blogs. So it's gone down from 44p to 22p. Everyone was gearing up. Our firm lost 300 grand.
Yeah.
Just on materials. People were signing up for it. And then as soon as the feed-in tariff got cut in half, that's like, well, that's half my money gone. So, no, fuck it.
Oh my God.
And it's not just... In fact, it's something worth pointing out. It's not just for things like that as well. It's for apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Because the apprenticeship levies got absolutely hoovered up by big companies. And they've just hired all these people for apprentices, which the government can then pay for. And then they're not going to get jobs at the end of their apprenticeships. And that has been, unfortunately, the mass story for most people's apprenticeships. Yeah. And it's one of the biggest... I think it should be one of the biggest scandals this current government goes away with, but it's destroyed thousands of people's potential apprenticeships.
Yeah,
the promise of a job that was meant to be there that was never going to be delivered.
That's up there with tax credits in the sense of government are subsidising these big companies that could well afford it, and at the end of it, they're just going, "Nah, it's all right. You're on a 0 hours contract. Yeah, we'll give you some tax credits or universal credit to subsidise like Tesco's or Sports Direct or one of these other big fucking idiot firms. And then you put them on a 0 hours contract. You can stand them down at any time. And then they realise they've not earned enough to actually meet the threshold to qualify for universal credit.
Yeah.
They get fuck all at the end of it.
Yeah.
But the company gets away scot-free. And
why is the taxpayer propping up these companies? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like why do they manage to somehow, everything that like is capital is privatized and profit is all capitalized, privatized. Sorry, and then your losses are socialized, so they're all paid by your chunk taxpayer.
The thing is, it was Gordon Brown that brought in the tax credits, but I think he brought the tax credits in as a counterbalance to the minimum wage. I think he realised that the minimum wage legislation, that I'm pretty sure it was Labour who brought in the minimum wage legislation. They realised that the minimum wage that they calculated was too low for people like living in London, and they brought in the tax credits to appease the big companies, saying, like, okay, look, we know you can't afford, because the big thing was like, if you give us a minimum wage, we're not going to be able to afford it. Because we want to pay them peanuts, and now you're forcing us to pay, I don't know, £5 or whatever it was an hour. That's not in our budget. So then the government said, okay, we'll bring in tax credits and bump their wages up for you. So either way, capital wins and we foot the bill.
This is one of the things I think should be looked at, that if any company receives money from the government or taxpayer money, then that should be made sure that if they are receiving money, there is a social good that comes out of it, whether there is a minimum, as they've recently Joe Biden's actually just done this in America, which again, I have hope for Keir Starmer, because a lot of people on the left in America were saying how bad Joe Biden was going to be. But Joe Biden.
There were people on the left saying he was going to be just as bad as Trump, and I'm like, how could he be just as bad as Trump? I mean,
I mean, Joe Biden's done a lot of good stuff in America. Not 100%, but I've said this before on my channel. I would rather we get a Labour government that gives me like 40% of what I want than a Tory government that gives me nothing.
Well, it doesn't just not give you anything you want. It destroys anything that was actually good about anything. But the big thing now is that they're taking away the the obligation for landlords to insulate their properties for their tenants who have to pay the freaking energy bills with half of this energy going out the roof because there's no insulation up there.
And of course we're going to be back into those stories soon.
Yeah, it's like the worst possible thing they could do at the worst possible time. But this is the Tories, isn't it? It's just.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example of that, Graham. I did a house, two houses today in the same road in Wembley, right?
Yeah.
They're both built in around 95 based on the insulation level that was in the loft. So it was about 150 mil. So we'll be topping up the loft insulation. But number 58 had the original 1995 wooden windows with a 5 mil double glazing bead, which is the smallest kind of double glazing bead that you can get. So there's not much air in there, not very good windows for retaining heat, and they were wooden. So they expand and contract within the seasons. So they're drafty as fuck. They've tried to tack like a draft strip around them, but she's got a brand new front door that was installed in 2022. Okay? I go to number 60, 2 doors away. She's got brand new windows, right? All trickle vents, lovely jubbly, pucker windows, all fitted last year. But they've left her with the original front door, which is just hemorrhaging heat. And this is the problem. They will do the bare minimum to shut the tenant up.
Yeah.
But then when they start complaining about things like, because the lady was like, well, I could kick that front door in. I was like, yeah, I mean, a strong breeze would have that door over. And the guy who came round said, oh, no, it's absolutely fine. It's a really strong door. And I'm like, was it a Friday afternoon by any chance that he came round? Didn't fancy it, you know? But that's the inconsistencies that we're dealing with the British housing stock. I will. That's literally one example of one.
This is your job, isn't it? You go around looking at houses and saying this needs insulation, this needs X, Y, Z. So what's been the response? Not necessarily from you yourself, but like people in your industry at what Rishi Sunak's just done. Is it just dismay or confusion? What is it?
Hang on 2 seconds. Let me grab my iPad because there's an email from one of the funders from there, and I'll read it. To you. 2 seconds.
While you're looking for that, we'll talk amongst ourselves. Hey, Ollie,
you want to talk some foreign policy?
Are you coming to the REJOIN march tomorrow at 12 o'clock?
Sneaky. No, unfortunately, no.
What?
I mean, I am in God's own country.
No, you're not. You're in like Acapulco or somewhere.
I'm a Yorkshireman. I can't go down London.
You're sunning yourself on the beach in Bondi in Australia, and you've just got this like green curtain behind you to say, "Oh, I'm in Yorkshire. I'm really in Yorkshire."
Probably.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning.
That's the magic of the green screen. I could be anywhere.
But yeah, no, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Hopefully we'll have more people than last time. Last year I was supposed to go, and then the Queen died. So they cancelled. Well, they postponed the original REJOIN march and for November, and I couldn't make the when it was rescheduled. The REJOIN was rescheduled. And
it's weird to think that was only a year ago. God, we were in the midst of Liz Truss. God, those were some.
And the Queen died, and
I know
her funeral was on International Talk Like a Pirate Day. So I did a commentary for the Queen's funeral.
In full pirate
costume and voice.
Right, I've got it here. This is from
had to be done.
This is from a guy called Stuart Farley from Elmhurst Energy. Elmhurst Energy are one of the people that do accreditations. So I'll give you just a brief sort of, I'll skim it sort of thing because it is full of a load of fluff. But this is the main thrust of it. Changes to landlord requirements. The Prime Minister announced that the proposed plans, which would require landlords to upgrade private rented properties to EPC Band C by 2025 or 2028, would be scrapped. The sector was awaiting confirmation following a consultation under minimum energy efficiency standards, regulations, and when properties would be required to meet EPC Band C for all new and existing tenancies. This move, Elmhurst feels, leaves landlords with no long-term clarity around what is expected and when the energy efficiency upgrades would now be required. It is important to realise that current standard for rental properties is E or above. This still remains in place. It's unclear in the speech whether the ambition on non-domestic buildings will also be delayed. Despite these changes, we want you to know that Elmhurst are on your side. We will continue to engage with the government and work with other stakeholders in our field to promote the role of energy assessor and ensure we have a clear understanding of what comes next. I'm sure the devil is in the detail will come out when individual policies and regulations come up for debate. So basically, he ain't got a clue.
Oh, mate.
All to appease the climate skeptics in his party.
Yep.
Is that it? Is that who he's trying to appease?
The fucking landlords.
Yeah.
How many of them are landlords?
But it's all boom lords, isn't it? Because they know that the boomers are going to vote for them. Not all boomers, but a lot of them. And a lot of boomers are landlords because of the sheer fortune they had of the housing market going up 100 times its original value in the space of a few years when they bought their houses for £2.50 back in 1971. And
they're also up in arms because of obviously what Truss and Kwarteng did, which shafted them again. So they're all still bitter about that.
Yeah.
So they're like, hang on, you shafted us with our interest rates, and now you're saying we've got to like tart up our houses just to appease the Green lobby. They're like, fuck that. You're getting us from both sides. We want to go on holiday this year, We want to go to the Seychelles. Fucking wankers.
Yeah. Well, actually, it depends for those interest rates, depending what type of Tory you are. Because the part of the Tories are what I like to call free market fundamentalists. And they have been going on for years that interest rates are too low. And this enables zombie companies to survive by borrowing all this cheap money, which allows them to continue shambling on when they should be dying, and new companies
like the water companies.
Ashes. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's a weird ideology, but that's what Liz Truss is all about.
And the Institute of Economic
before she became Prime Minister and all this, she was saying interest rates need to rise, they need to go up, and all this nonsense is part of her campaign stuff.
I would love to get an experiment, just to start an experiment of getting all these fucking libertarian wankers, right, sticking them on a farm and saying, "Crack on."
Yes.
Go on.
Oh,
that would make a great TV show. That would make a fantastic TV show because they'll all be dead. They'll all be dead within a month. This is interesting. Right, there's been loads of movies made about a mutiny on the Bounty, right? So you had the original with Clark Gable and Charles Lawton. Then you had the one in the 50s, didn't you, with Marlon Brando. Then you had the one in the 80s with Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins. And no one's ever made the third book in the trilogy. So there was Mutiny on the Bounty. There's Men Against the Sea, which are covered in the movies, which is the travels of Captain Bligh back to what was then Kupang in Timor, to Australia then. And no one's ever made a film yet of the third book, which is just called Pitcairn Island. And in it, it's about the mutineers landing on Pitcairn Island. And I think they were picked up by the British about 15 years later. The British finally sussed out where they were. And by the time the British sussed out, do you know how many mutineers were left?
One.
They'd all just killed each other on a freaking island on the other side of the planet. And it's
Graham,
like, this is, What were you thinking?
If only we knew someone who had their own island where we could stage this show on.
Hey, you know, many moons ago, I wrote to Darren Brown about the possibility of using my island to do one of his shows.
Oh, really?
To set up a cult on the island and see if you could get them. So, you'd have like 5 people who are real and you have 5 people who are actors, and you're getting to do crazier and crazier things, and it leads up to whether they would drink what they thought was poison Kool-Aid. That was the show.
I'm about to make both your days, because what if I told you?
I've drank
what if I told you this has already happened?
Oh, wow. Really?
And
someone's already made a TV show of it.
It's not a TV show, it's a book. And it's a very, very interesting book. We'll give it a quick plug. It's called A Libertarian Walks into a Bear, the utopian plot to liberate an American town and some bears.
Wow.
It's a libertarian walks into a bear, like he walks into a bar, but it's a bear. Thanks, Phil, for the super chat, by the way.
It is a fascinating book. about that very subject, that a bunch of libertarians went, bought up a town, and then turned it all into this libertarian paradise. And
turned to shit.
it
That's
all
hilarious.
goes wrong.
Is this real? Did this actually happen?
Yes, this actually happened. This is an actual real thing that they've done.
Wow.
They actually did it. They went out and they lived the libertarian dream, and it turned into an absolute nightmare.
Wow.
Phil saying Reverend Jim Jones. I didn't go to Jonestown, but I went very close to it when I was in Guyana. We drove past where it was. Where over 1,000 people killed themselves or murdered each other because Reverend Jim Jones told them to.
I mean, in the early days of our podcast, we used to invite.
What podcast is that, Wayne?
Oh, it's the Bin podcast.
The Bin, not the Seven Bins podcast.
No, the singular Bin.
It should be Wayne Lynch and the Seven Bins.
Well, that's gonna.
Is that the spin-off?
Yeah, that's a spin-off.
That's on Thursday.
It's Thursday. Thursday, 8:00 on Twitch, and then we repost it on YouTube the next day.
Fantastic.
Cheers for that, Graham.
It's all right.
I've lost my train of thought. Sorry. Yeah, we used to have a guy come on, very libertarian, and we would have discussions with him about like what would you do in this situation? Like how would you as an American, what would you do how would you live? We was like, but who built the roads? Who educated your populace? What about schools and hospitals and fire brigades and all that? And he said, well, you'd pay for it yourself. I'm like, well, what if your town's burning down and you haven't got any fire brigade? You expect the people from next door to come and save you?
Yep.
And he was like, well, if we ain't paid for it, then our house is burned down. I was like, what?
They just haven't thought it through. It's a really childish view of the world. Do you know what I mean? It's got this real sort of juvenile feel to it of like how they sort of.
Do you want me to expand your unfortunate view, your knowledge of libertarians even more?
Oh, go on.
Go on.
So there is actually a group of libertarians that exist in the UK, and they call themselves the Pendragon Society.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, God.
And they believe that they are barons and baronesses, that they are lords, and that they can ennoble themselves.
What?
And shortly, I think it was before the pandemic, it might have been after, they attempted to lay siege and storm and take Edinburgh Castle. I am not making that up. That was a real thing that happened.
When was this?
Oh my God.
Was this in the 1600s or was this kind of recent?
No, this happened like 2-3 years ago.
What?
Oh my God.
This was a thing that happened.
Well, they tried to storm Edinburgh Castle. You mean that big, massive castle that's famously got cannons on it at all times?
Yep.
Yeah, good luck with that, lads.
Yep.
But libertarianism to me is like rich kids who want to live in an anarchy because they feel like they can afford their own healthcare, they can afford their own kids' education, they can afford their own private army to look after them, and they don't seem to understand that society would be really boring if the only people were people like them who were just born into money with no talent, no skills, no charisma, no artistic bent. Do you know what I mean? Just like... And people go, oh, well, I wrote a book. I didn't need anyone's help. I just wrote a book. And it's like, okay, well, first of all, you probably only got a publishing deal in this country because you went to private school, but that's another story. The fact is that if children were not educated, no one would buy your freaking book because no one would be able to read. So it's really critical to you as an author that children across the country are taught to read. And it's just we need society, dickheads.
The main thrust of their argument tends to be like they've got to a certain point in life and they're all right. So let's just stop everything. Let's just pull the drawbridge up. We're cushy. Yeah. Right. Let's start again. It's like, well, you can't really do that because if you want to take away all these things, like because I think they call them charter schools in America.
Yes.
Which are basically sort of like
Yep. I'm trying to bring them here.
Yep.
Recently. Yep.
Yeah. Fucking Tufton Street.
Yeah, and they're trying to stop funding for those. They're trying to stop things like community colleges and all that kind of. Why should we pay for that? Why should? Well, because you're educating the people that are going to be fucking looking after you. When you're all doubled over and crippled and, you know, trying to fucking piss in a bag, these are the people that will be looking after you. They'll be running the country. But if they can't get educated because you're so selfish and want to keep all the money for yourself, crack on, sunshine. Go on.
Yeah.
Have at it.
Yeah.
I ain't going to wipe your ass.
There was a fantastic article on the Cracked website about 10 years ago called 6 Things Rich People Need to Stop Saying, and it is absolutely one of the best articles that's ever been written on the internet. The first, it's an American thing, so it's like, first of all, well, $500,000 a year might sound like a lot, but I'm hardly rich, which is something that people say because their lifestyle is so expensive, the house they live in is so expensive, their car is so expensive. You know, they say that they're property rich but cash poor, and I'm sitting there going, you could literally sell your property and then you'll have cash. I mean, the idea that they can't get around in because their mortgage is so much, and I'm like, yeah, my heart's bleeding. Next one is, hey, I worked hard to get what I have, and I'm just like, you don't work harder than a nurse. You don't work harder than a fucking Yorkshire coal miner. You know, the idea that you go to an office in a bank and go, oh, yeah, just turn up, shuffle some papers around, work on a
You don't work harder than that poor 18-year-old who's on the drive-through fucking counter.
Yeah.
Getting abuse from drunken oiks.
Yeah.
At 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Like that's graft. I wouldn't want to do that.
So basically, a lot of these people who are born into money, they have meetings. So essentially, they just have conversations. That's it. That's their job. They have conversations with people and, you know, say, oh, should we do this? Yeah, okay. Well, we've got people to do that. We'll go and do it. Yeah. Which comes to the next one. If I can do it, so can you. This idea that we could all be millionaires if we just worked hard, you know, really applied ourselves. And then I've got my list, my private school mafia list, and it's like everyone who's famous, everyone who's got money. So everyone who's earning over 100,000 a year.
I do love that argument, like, because if we could all be millionaires, then who's going to
clean the
bins out?
Yeah, exactly. The next one is, you're just jealous because I made it and you didn't, which is the old chip on the shoulder thing. So if I complain about private schools, people go, oh, you got a chip on your shoulder? I say, well, you know, all things being equal, I do have an absolutely drop-dead gorgeous girlfriend who's got a PhD in physics. I've got an island. Oh, yeah, that's nice. A private island. And I've also got 2 Guinness World Records that I don't think anyone's ever going to beat. So, yeah, I've been to every country in the world. I mean, you know, it's like, well, I think you should be jealous of me more than anything. But, you know, apparently the fact that they've got more money than me and can buy something as daft as a personalised number plate, which are daft, you know... Daddy, what did you do during the climate crisis? Well, I went out and I bought a number plate that kind of said my name, but didn't quite say my name because it's like the next one is
got an E in his name, but it's a 3.
Yeah. And the next one is, you shouldn't be punishing the very people who make this country work. And this goes back to the whole Walmart thing in America where they don't pay their staff enough. So the government, i.e. taxpayers, have to top up their wages. And you're like, how? What? These shareholders in Walmart, the Walmart family, I don't even know if it's floated publicly.
I think it's the Walton family.
Is it? Yeah.
Oh,
Like
can we also have a moment of silence because NFTs, according to a new study,
0 value,
worthless.
No one saw that coming.
Yeah. Oh, who knew?
I just want to say, Brexit, Russell Brand, NFTs, please listen to me. Know what I'm talking about. And the last one, though, is the absolute best. It is number one thing that rich people need to stop saying. Stop asking for handouts. I never got help from anybody.
Oh. Boomer.
I pulled myself up by my bootstraps.
Yeah, how was that free university for you? How was that lovely subsidised house that you bought in the 80s?
You were never a child from birth. You were hunting and gathering your own food. Yeah. You never had a mother to hand you milk. You're completely self-educated. Age 4, you sought out your own knowledge and paid teachers out of your own pocket. I don't think you did. I think I would have seen something about it in the news. Just like... Who built the sewers you flush your shit down? Who built the roads? Who built putting the street lights in? Who put in the electricity network? No,
I did it all by myself.
No, I did it all by myself. I'm not part of society. I'm elevated. But now you've got these absolute Nazi nutters like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, who are like multi-billionaire libertarians.
Vivek Vishwami.
Yeah.
Something I think his name is.
Yeah.
Is he the Republican running for?
Yeah, the one who was only worth $1 million, so he got a £50,000 grant so he could go to, I think, Yale. And this is brilliant. So he's against affirmative action. He only got the grant because it was there for second generation immigrants. From
immigrants.
America. And also, you'll never guess who was paying for that £50,000 bursary he got.
Oh, it's George Soros, wasn't it?
Yes, it was George Soros. Yeah, the bête noire of the Republican movement in America. I bet who's paying you for this? I bet it's George Soros. I bet you George Soros is paying for this. And it's like, no, they're too busy playing for Vivek Ramaswamy. It's not. There's no hypocrisy like right-wing hypocrisy.
That's the irony of this Vivek fella. You know, he's trying to appeal to your Alex Jones types. Yet he's actually taking the money off the globalists and going to college with it. It's like, okay, how'd you square that circle, sunshine?
Yeah. Johnny Copperhead makes a good point. When society collapses, the billionaires think that they will be protected by hired mercenaries. They won't. The mercenaries will just rob and kill them.
Yep.
Because that's what happens when there's no law.
Warlord rules, baby.
I can't remember what rapper it was. It was either I think it might have been Ice Cube. And he said that he made all his money and he wanted to stay in the hood, wanted to be real. But then he realised like everyone was just trying to rob him, so he moved out to Beverly Hills.
Yeah, you can only keep it so real, I think. But it is a source of eternal frustration that these people who have, they've made it, they're super rich. Why can't they just be happy with the money they've got instead of making everyone's else's lives more miserable? Twitter was all right. It wasn't perfect. It was just trucking along, slowly running into the realms where it might actually make a profit. And then this very rich wanker turns up and just destroys it.
Thinks he can run it better.
Yeah, and just destroys it for everyone. And it's like, this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah. If he seriously thinks people are going to pay like even a small amount, like 5 pence per tweet, Twitter's dead. No one, Twitter will just die at that point because no one is going to use what they can do for free on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. You name your social media site of choice.
Name your poison.
Do you remember, it used to happen every year around the same time. There was this sort of like a chain letter that used to go around saying, you got to change your thing on Facebook because they're going to start charging you. And it's like, shut up. No, they're not. What a ridiculous concept that would be. Yep. But it happened every single year. Well,
at least we now know who was sending those chain letters.
Exactly.
It's Elon Musk.
Yeah.
It's just
sitting there like a Bond villain, just going,
Yes.
Well, I was talking about this earlier today, with Facebook and Threads and other social media platforms, and this social media platform, on YouTube, you get 1 or 2 messages that are just like, people being dicks. But Twitter now, you write something nice on Twitter. You say something like, I saw my mum today, that was nice. And someone will actually write this horrible thing about your mum, and you're just like, where did that come from? What was that for? And then there'll be another one and another one. You're just like, why have I come on here to be abused? I'm not going to bother with it anymore. So yeah, it's gone. It's gone. People keep trying to drag me back onto it, and they say, we've got to check this tweet out. And I'm like, put it on Threads. We need to have a bot that basically takes all the tweets and puts them automatically on Threads. So you just don't have to bother with it anymore.
I'm pretty sure there is one already.
Yeah, there'll be one somewhere.
Not the replies. Screw the replies, but actually, all the people that you like.
Oh, so you don't have to do. Oh well, technically there is, I suppose. Just use Hootsuite. Hootsuite will do it for you all at once. You don't have to bother.
What's remarkable about Twitter is just how few people use it compared with TikTok and YouTube and Facebook, and even Pinterest and Instagram have way more monthly users than Twitter ever had. And so he's taking this company that's not worth that much and paid 44 billion for it. And now
Well,
he's
he
just
paid
wanting
over
to
the
go.
odds for it.
I think it's because it's just a wash with bots. You know, I mean, I'll like if I get my phone out right now, I go on.
We'll see what's trending. Well, the lefty boater makes a good point. Twitter is fucking awful for us trans folks. Yeah, I've got such sympathy for you because every time I go on it, who's trending? Graham fucking Linehan or J.K. Rowling or that Patsy Poser Park or whatever her name is, and it's just like, oh, for God's sake, what now? What now? I'm going to be horrible about trans people. Why? Because I don't know. And it's all of the arguments are just copy and pasted, Control-C, Control-V from what they used to say about gay people in the 80s. Exactly the same thing. They're in the bathroom. They'll bum you. They'll give you AIDS. I was like, what?
For example, my last reply I sent out on Twitter was on the 19th of September. And it was just basically some geezer posted a picture and it looked like Nick Ferrari cosplaying as a firefighter. And that was all I said, Nick Ferrari cosplaying. And the activity that I've had on my Twitter is just basically random things following me with loads of numbers at the end of their thing.
Yeah.
I have no friends in common.
Billy bunch of numbers.
Yeah, just bots, mate.
Yeah.
I think we've got a. Oh my God! I've got to just quickly change the screen here because otherwise we've got a little tiny. You look like Wilfred. You look like Wilfred from the Bash Street Kids. Hang on, we'll sort that out. We will sort it. Don't you worry. Hello, Josh. Can you hear us? I'm going to just move everyone up a little bit. Hey, there he is. Hello, sir. Hello. How are you this Friday night? Are you all right?
Hello. How's it going? Sorry to be late.
All right.
I've been watching.
It's okay. I'm just going to.
Yeah, I've been watching what happened at dinner. Yeah,
the pictures
in the chat.
I saw you in the chat, and you thought I'll just jump in. So, are you going to the Rejoin March tomorrow? You're not, are you? You're skiving.
Unfortunately, I can't make it. Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
Oh. Well, yeah. Wayne, are you
coming?
coming?
Big crowd there, though, eh?
I'm working, mate.
Oh, he's got a proper job. God damn it.
I'm trying to save the planet, man. Come on.
Save the planet one Tory at a time.
Yeah. One uninsulated house at a time.
One uninsulated house. So I don't know if you know this, Josh, but Wayne's day job is literally, assessing houses for heat. Basically, how environmentally friendly they are and how much
domestic energy assessor.
That's it, domestic energy. Thank you, Wayne, for telling us what your job title is, because I was obviously messing that up there. But so it's been an interesting week for Wayne with the Tories deciding that they're going to backheel the targets that they had and what they were going to bring in, especially for. Do you rent? You rent, don't you?
Me?
No, I'm talking to Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do.
So how do you feel about this thing where they've just sort of taken away the obligation for landlords to insulate properties that have got tenants in?
I mean, I just feel like it's also short term, and I think that was partly the conversation earlier, wasn't it? Like they'll do something for a little bit, for a year or two, and then all of a sudden the program disappears. And it's not just that the budget's gone; it's like the infrastructure has been wasted, and people's jobs are gone, and it's just like, oh, that's not working, let's try something else. It's like it's probably a good analogy, but like you need to be doing things with long-term plans.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. These things take time to spin up, and then there's a lot of waste when you spin them down as well. And of course, someone's getting paid in the middle of it, right? But usually it isn't the people actually doing the job,
Yeah, I mean, to circle back to my point, I was talking about the energy secretary who was on the Question Time a week. They cut the feed-in tariff in half. A guy questioned him and said, I've just taken on 350 guys for this solar scheme that has just been introduced. I've now just had to lay them all off because the work's just gone, and that's 350 people that was all like, geared up to, get trained on installing the panels, the electrics, all the logistics of it and everything. No, ta-ta. Off you go.
Jesus Christ.
I think this has entirely been done because it's a short-term.
Yeah.
What he thinks is a very quick win and a very cynical one at that. And I think it has a lot to do with Uxbridge and that by-election.
It's desperation.
Mm.
Because the fact that he said that he was full square behind this in July.
Yeah. Well, wasn't there a Tory minister who was asked about it a couple of days earlier, and he was like, "No, there is no we're not going to dial back on our environmental pledges. That's not true." And then literally 2 days later, he's like, "Yeah, we're going to dial back on all these environmental pledges that we made." And it was like the only good stuff the Tories had. It was the only things that were actually, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, do that. And now they've got nothing. What is the legacy of the Tory party going to be? 13 years of no economic growth, 13 years of stagnation, 13 years of backbiting and families falling out, and the number of people on hospital waiting lists going through the roof, the number of people waiting for their asylum claims to be assessed going through the roof. It's gone up from 20,000 in 2010 to over 170,000 now.
People
potentially going into a recession as well. If you're looking at what some UK economists are saying as well at the moment.
Thanks, Johnny.
That's not pretty good.
Graham, you've got to remember the note that the Labour Party left.
There's no money.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to the next note. You know what I mean?
Is this the new tradition now?
No, but it was a tradition that they'll do a funny note when they left, and Greg Hands decided to take it round to every radio station and TV channel that would have him on to go, they left this note saying there was no money. I'm like, well, how did they afford to do anything? Did the army finish? Was there no police? Was there no ambulances? Were there no roads anymore? Do you know what I mean? Like, we had no money.
You're supposed to spend the money. That's what it's for.
Yeah. Did he walk into his office like that John Travolta meme where he walks in and Pulp Fiction he's like that?
Where's the money?
Exactly.
But it's just...
I think you got it all a bit wrong, actually, Graham. I think the Tory legacy, of course, is going to be that massive, the one huge achievement of theirs, that we're not allowed to talk about during the election.
That massive achievement that they're so proud about, we're not going to mention it.
Yeah, but it's going to be what the whole election is about, of course.
Yeah. Did someone make a tweet about that? About what the next election's going to be about that thing that no one wants to talk about?
Yeah, basically, I think a lot of people have been saying that. It's going to be a repeat of the Brexit election, but you're not allowed to mention Brexit. It's going to be like some sort of weird party game, What
a weird world we live in. Thanks to Johnny
something
and to
else
Irish
that
Monk
flew
for
under the
super
radar.
chats, by the way. Thank you very much. Sorry, go on, Ollie.
Oh yeah, something else that flew under the radar. I'm a massive supporter of decarbonising the steel industry. I think it's something we really need to do. They've screwed up the decarbonisation at Port Talbot, one of the biggest steel production plants, not in the UK, but in Wales. They've decided that, you're going to give this massive government subsidy to Tata Steel to help them decarbonise, but they don't know what they're going to spend the money on yet, and they're going to lay off 3,000 workers as a result, as these greening things take place.
That's 3,000 cars off the road, you see. Made a blinder.
Yeah. But they've completely screwed it up. The opportunities for decarbonising the steel industry are massive for the UK. It's a long-term plan. If you look at any of the experts when they talk about this, they say it takes about between 20 and 25 years to actually do. It will take a long, sustained amount of effort of subsidies and all kinds of stuff going on in the industries to help support the industry make that transition. It could be absolutely huge, could be an amazing legacy for whichever party does it, but no, not interested. They've just screwed it up.
How do I get paid, though? I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Benefit for the country, you say? I mean,
I think this goes back to your point about they're being very short-termist with their policies, and it's basically like, how can we get re-elected? It's not how can we benefit the country in a long-term sort of and sustainable way.
That's always been the Tory policy, though, isn't it? How can we get elected?
We just need to get through to next week. Can we just get through to next week and we'll deal with it, and then we'll blame someone else for it when it goes to its own.
The right wing are literally constantly in campaign mode. I think they're in campaign mode. It's either spin or it's working out what they need to do to win, or creating the conditions in which the things they want to do work or whatever. And that's the kind of the top layer. And then everything else going on underneath is what looks like policy, but it's actually just schemes, to take the money. Yeah. Did you know Trump, he registered his new campaigning organization the day of the inauguration when he won?
Yeah.
Literally. And it also meant that because he was technically campaigning, that of course, he was regulated in a very different way and could be audited, in different ways. And it actually kind of protected him financially. And of course, he could literally just go, selling mugs again immediately, right? Which is
Selling mugs to mugs.
Yeah.
The Save America Pact.
Registered his new company.
Of course, selling his mugshot as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sell his mugshot on a mug to mugs. There you go, triple header. But yeah, the Save America Pact. I mean, the corruption that goes on in the UK and the US is just in plain sight. They're not even pretending it's not there. And Trump and these political action committees, just like the IEA over here, when you say, did you see the clip of Dom Jolly asking the guy from the IEA, the weirdo from the IEA,
Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you? Why are you here?
Who's funding you? And that guy was a proper fucking weirdo. Like, I would not let him anywhere near school children. He looked
But his answer was such bollocks as well. Oh, we don't want people going on Twitter and having a go at our funders.
For the shitty things you're doing.
So you're not really into free speech then? Okay. Fair enough.
Almost self-aware of the problem, isn't he? He was almost there,
I mean, it sort of debunks itself. After all, we've just already said, after all, who uses Twitter anymore?
Yeah. Irish Monk.
And if it is Trump.
Irish Monk, thank you very much for the €20 super chat. Really appreciate it. He's put an average cost of a UK politician per minute. But yeah, one of the big news stories this week, I guess, was the retirement of Rupert Murdoch. 92 years old, the guy behind The Sun, the owner of the Times in the UK, and also the owner of Fox News over in America, and also the owner of the Sydney Herald over in Australia, and a bunch of other media companies that he owns, and just the most evil man who's ever lived.
How is someone so evil allowed to be alive that long?
He has lasted
has he got like some sort of fucking Lazarus chamber or something like that?
The devil.
He drinks the blood of unicorns.
Yeah, he's a fucking globalist. How can everyone get on him?
But he had this leaving statement in which he railed against the elites. The media. The elites. This is a multi-billionaire who owns TV channels and newspapers all over the world. And he was saying, it's all the fault of the elites.
The lack of self-awareness.
Interesting about this? His son takes over. And from all the rumours, from all the stories that we've seen and heard about him, he is an absolute fail son. How he is going to continue on his dad's legacy? Well, probably because he's got a lot of money and probably a lot of competent people around him.
From what I understand, James was the one who had like a business head on his shoulders, but he just didn't share his dad's beliefs, and they had a massive falling out.
He's the one who fucked off, isn't he? He just went, I don't have none of this.
Yeah. Joanne says, thanks, Threads for the win, for £2 super chat there. Thank you. Yeah, Threads is just nicer at the moment because it's not got so many dickheads on it who are just there to cause trouble. And I guess if they do come on, they get kind of nailed down quite fast. I got into trouble last week with Facebook for posting things when the Russell Brand scandal came up, and people were just putting on my Facebook, coming over to my Facebook and writing the most ridiculous shite, and I had to tell them.
But don't you understand? It's they're trying to protect. They're trying to go after Russell Brand. Don't you know this, Graham?
Yeah,
it's all these people.
No, Ollie, they're coming for you. It's just it's just Russell Brand is in the way.
Yeah.
If the nonce police are coming for you, mate, then there's nothing down for you. But there's a really good point.
It's all because he went on Bill Maher and told the truth.
Yeah, I can't stress this enough. Someone said this on Twitter, and I've mentioned this on a few shows this week, but they said, if you support Russell Brand, he won't see your message. He doesn't need your support. But you know who will see your message? The women in your life who have been abused. And they'll see what your reaction is when, this sort of thing comes to light. And essentially this whole thing about, innocent until proven guilty. And I keep saying this, that's a legal thing. This is something for courts, right? So if you are on the jury, you have to presume innocence of anyone who's put in the dock until you're given the evidence. And then you can make your own decision, right? If you are saying that someone is innocent until they're found guilty, that's not how it works. And also it's saying that the women who are accusing him of stuff, they're lying, so they're committing perjury, perhaps, if it goes to court. But before then, defamation, libel, slander. Are they not innocent until proven guilty? Are they? What? It just doesn't work that way. And I think people see that line in the same way that people see in America or even in the UK, freedom of speech. They just think freedom of speech, that's a thing, isn't it? So I'm allowed to say what I want. And it doesn't work like that. It's not even a British thing. It's an American thing, for starters.
Yeah, it's the freeze peaches crowd.
But
That's what I call them.
it means that the government can't stop you saying what you want to say. That's what it means. Nothing to do with private enterprise. Nothing to do with someone's pub.
Yep.
You can't go into someone's pub with a spiel about how much of a dick the landlord is,
Oh.
and then read it out in front of all the regulars, because you can say it's my private property. Piss off.
Speaking of free speech, did we all see the news that flew suspiciously quietly under the radar that the Financial Conduct Authority found that there was actually no evidence of people being debanked for their political beliefs?
No, let's kept that one quiet.
I know. Nigel Farage was very quiet about that one.
Oh, bloody hell. Why wouldn't that man just go away?
Considering the amount of noise he made about that, it was absolutely ridiculous. I mean,
when he's a victim, he's like
exactly. But what's going to happen to all that money that he raised for that big challenge to do this? Because he started like a new funding thing for people to give him money to go and investigate.
He wanted money off his idiot followers because he couldn't have a posh bank account that was posh enough for him. John Mortar, who unfortunately can't join us tonight, has just sent me the Scum newspaper there. Who's up for a street party when this scum pops his clogs? And it's got Rupert Murdoch there. So just saying, that's going to be sometime in the next decade, and I look forward to it.
I was just thinking, like, did Farage raise all that money literally so he could get back over the threshold to have his Coots account? That was it, right? So
I think his Union Jack shoes needed resoling or something.
Oh, hang on. A wild Femi has appeared. Hello, Femi. Are you there?
Throw a Pokeball at him.
Pokeball. He's there. He's on a train. Oh, this is brilliant. He's on his way to London.
He's on a district line.
Oh, fantastic. All right, Femi. I don't know if you can hear us yet.
You're live. No swearing.
Yes, it's all good. It's all good. I don't know if you can see me, but we can see you. Can you connect at the sounds? You're on mute for some reason. I'm going to just try and unmute you. Oh, there you go. I can hear you now. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Femi?
I'm good. I'm on mute for train reasons. So come say hi.
Hi. So where are you? Are you in London yet?
No, just left Birmingham International.
Are you flying here?
They do have a train station as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was gonna have words that you're flying from Birmingham to London.
Yeah, carbon footprint.
Yeah. So what are you getting here tonight and staying over? Oh no, we've lost him. Femi, come back.
He's going through a tunnel.
Should explain. Femi is one of the co-organisers of the big march, the big REJOIN march tomorrow, along with the REJOIN party. So obviously, we asked him on to sort of big it up a little bit. But we can't hear you at the moment, Femi. I'm afraid your sound's gone off, unfortunately. And John's in the chat. John, I just showed them your front cover of the Scum newspaper there, John. So sorry, chaps, definitely will be on this soon. Yeah, probably next week. We'll do it next week. And every week. Since I'm in London, I thought we'll try and like meet up in real life, but I always forget just how big and horrible London is. I looked up, Wayne, how long it would take me to get me to yours, and it was something like an hour and 45 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. From where I am now.
Oh yeah, because where you are now.
I'm in West London.
You're in West, yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of tricked into thinking that it's all just a city. Do you know what I mean? But it's not. It's a collection of small towns, lots and lots of small towns that are all really far from each other.
And the thing is, you like to get to my line, because I live on the smallest line out of London, and it's
the city, the Hammersmith and City line.
No, C to C.
What's the one that's just like one station to one station on the underground? It just goes to like Bank and then somewhere else. It's a district and city line or something in city line. It's not Hammersmith and City line.
No, they're all fairly big. There's not.
No, there's one line and it's just got two stations on it.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Kind of teal one.
It's something and City. Oh, come on, help us out here, people. I'm gonna bring up my TFL app on my phone before someone shouts it.
Hammersmith and City?
No, that's a different one. I think that's got a bit longer.
I'll race you, Graham. I'm
looking. Who's gonna get there first?
Yeah, it is the Hammersmith and City. You're right.
Oh, it is the Hammersmith and City. It's just like 2 stations on it. It's the most
it goes
ridiculous.
from Bank, right?
Bank to Waterloo. Waterloo and City. It's the Waterloo and City line. That's it there. Joe, I was looking at the map today, and I was just saying to my partner, like the Bakerloo line, which is brown apparently, and the City. Is it City? No, what's the one that goes across? That's
District.
Central. Sorry, it's not Central.
Central.
Central line. They look exactly the same colour to me because I'm colourblind. It just looks like there's a red cross in the middle of the map. Fun times.
You definitely don't want to get them mixed up. You'd end up in Epping.
No one wants to end up there.
Well, this is one of the things that undermines my manly prowess. You know, you like men like to barbecue, don't they? Because like that's a manly thing. Like cooking in a kitchen, that's not manly unless you're a chef and you're shouting at people. But if you cook outside the exact same food, then that's a manly pursuit. The problem is, because I'm colourblind, I can't tell if the meat is done or not. And I live in this perpetual fear that I'm going to have like a family barbecue and just wipe out half my family by giving them like undercooked meat.
Oh, you need to do that. You need to do the finger test. That's what you need to do. Finger test.
You put your finger inside, but how? I mean, I can't see that it's pink. Like I'm colourblind. No. I can't see what's.
So, what it is, you do one of your fingers over to here, and then that's how the meat should feel when it's like, I think,
or a thermometer.
Yeah.
Or a thermometer, yeah. Wait.
2 is medium and then 3 is well done.
Do you know what? It's like one of those things that you always think, yeah, I'll get a meat thermometer. Next time you're in like, I don't know, TK Maxx queuing up to like pay for something, you're like, oh yeah, a meat thermometer, that's something I need. But you never think of it, just normally.
Yeah. Whilst you're getting your...
Middle a little. Meat thermometer.
You're buying your Moody CK1 shirt. And just as you're waiting on the counter, meat thermometer. Next to a miniature dartboard.
How did we get onto this? Anyway. So we've had Rishi Sunak with his major U-turn. We've also, and this is relevant for what's happening tomorrow at the REJOIN march, we've had Keir Starmer having this conversation with Macron where he said, you know, we want to have closer ties. But at the same time, he's, again, ruled out the single market. Do you think this is a good strategy, or do you think this is sort of playing to the Brexiteers?
I think the latter. I think, like we discussed last time, I think Keir Starmer's a bit hamstrung in the sense of that he has to play the media now because he knows whatever he comes out with, whatever policy he comes out with, it's going to go through that mangle. I mean, just look what James highlighted on LBC just today. The fact that it's front page news, what Keir Starmer said about not diverging. And that's exactly what Sunak said a couple of weeks ago.
Mm.
But because it's Starmer saying it, it's front page news.
Yep.
And Rishi says it and no one gives a fuck.
So I kind of actually think that's a really good thing, regardless of what the policy position might be. Him being on the front page is what he needs to be for the next year, right?
Yes.
Whatever it's about.
Yeah.
Because then it's him that's guiding the narrative.
John just said that in the chat. He says Starmer is being clever, which I'm kind of inclined to agree with because, you know, I feel like we should give him the benefit of the doubt at least until the election, and then I think the gloves come off.
Yeah.
I think what's really funny is that the right wing and Tory MPs, and right wing commentators are all out there trying to kind of like scare us,
undermine him and everything like that. Yeah.
He's
got to do it.
He'll take us back into the EU, and I'm thinking, that's the popular view now, right? That's what we want. So like, this is not the scare tactic you think it is.
62%, wasn't it? The last poll wanted to go back into the EU. Something ridiculous.
I think what we need in the run up to this election is the two of them being grilled by a panel of journalists from across the spectrum that can live fact check any of these statements that they say and have someone trawling through the newspaper articles and say, well, on this date you said this, and then it's, completely untrue, and see how they react. Because at the end of the day, they go on the shows where they literally get their tummies tickled and people don't want to rock the boat because they want access. Because as soon as someone starts giving them some tough questions, they never want to go there again because it makes them look like fucking idiots. And the amount of Tory MPs that have been doing the morning rounds of recent, absolutely tripping over their own dicks on the fucking things they're coming out with. It's embarrassing. But these are the people that are in charge, and this is apparently the best we've got. But because we've had 13 years of them, we are literally scraping the barrel of what's left. We have got all the flotsam and jetsam do.
I don't know if you saw Max's video today, Maximilian Robespierre. If you're not already subscribed to his channel, I really, really recommend it. He did a video about Victoria Derbyshire interviewing Robert Jenrick about how asylum, and it was just remarkable because she actually said, your party has been in charge for 13 years, because he kept on saying, oh yeah, but what we've done, what I've personally done, she's like, yeah, but your party has been in for 13 years. This was the situation 13 years ago. This is the situation now. And she just absolutely demolished him. And it was such a joy to watch because he didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to it because he's used to getting his tummy tickled by the dickheads on GB News or Talk TV or people like Nick Ferrari, who pretends that he's a hard-hitting interviewer, but he's not. He's really not. And what I always think when I hear some interviews, and it winds me up that they don't ask the questions that I think should be asked, and you can see why so many of these Tories will not be interviewed by James O'Brien. The haunted pencil, Rees-Mogg, he made that mistake once. He's never going to make it again. Nigel Farage made that mistake once. He's never going to make it again.
Ian Duncan Smith did the same.
Yeah. And
they
just
properly
shocked.
got his pants pulled down.
They were shocked to be taken to task because that's not what journalists do in this country at the moment.
Yep.
And I think that this is a huge thing that Labour get. They understand the fact that they do not have these journalists on side. And I think that they're just... My take on it is they're going to get themselves elected and then go, right, Leveson 2, let's sort out the press. And then we've got a bit more of a free reign about what we can do to actually improve people's lives without the tabloid press coming down on us like a ton of bricks and, winding up all the people who actually bother to vote.
Maybe every election cycle we should just get Jeremy Paxman out of storage and just say, fucking go at him. Go on. Because he was one of the only people that really...
that became his big downfall, the fact that he gave such hard interviews. No one wanted to be interviewed by him.
Yeah, but the thing is, if that's the benchmark, that's what you've got to get past. Then you should be going there, be confident in what you're saying is accurate and true, and that you're going to stick by it and show your workings. But if you can't get past that, then what are you doing?
But this is the thing. I mean, if you have the courage of your convictions, you should be happy to be interviewed by anyone.
Yep.
Like I for something like my pro-EU stance, I would be more than happy to be interviewed, perhaps not by like the fucking scum newspaper, but like, by a right-wing newspaper that would actually try and take me to task on it. And I'd be able to, answer all those questions absolutely. Because I know what's going to come. I mean, and they'll try and make me look like a hypocrite, because that's a big thing with the right. They'll go for the ad hominem attacks. They'll go for the purity test nonsense about, we've got this tweet from 15 years ago in which you said, I don't give a shit about the environment. I'm getting pissed with my mates. And that was 3:00 in the morning, 15 years ago. What do you have to say about that? And you're like, well...
I was off your neck.
I was off my head. But no, I mean...
Taking out of context.
Yeah.
Well...
This is the thing. They don't have any workings to show, do they? Because they're not actually doing the things that they say they're doing.
They've done nothing.
Yeah.
What
have you done today, Tory?
Man.
Nothing. Yeah, inaction man. I really hope that just stays with Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, right. That and Lil Rishi.
Yeah. I am worried, though, that they are going to have me and Tansky spoken about this, they might change the leader just before the election. I think they might try and get Penny Mordenton, because I think they'll see her as more popular with the electorate. However, I don't know if she would want to take it, just because if you think about it, like from her point of view, she obviously wants to be Prime Minister because she's a, grubby little
she's not the only one.
Yeah, but would she want to be Prime Minister for 2 months going into a terrible election where they just got their asses
No,
handed to them.
No, it would
I
make
She'd
think if they
rather
change
wait.
Prime
She's not that
Minister-
old. She'll just sit there, bide her time, and then she'll make a big comeback in
yeah,
2037.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I mean, you know, so whoever goes into the next election as the leader, they are probably not going to be the leader after the election if they lose, right?
No, absolutely not.
Because traditionally, obviously, you don't get to stay if you lose.
The Tories
right?
aren't that stupid
So-
that they'd leave someone in power after they've just lost the general election.
So then the question becomes, who might they put into as opposition leader, right? Because I think that's quite interesting. So who do they think they could have up against the Labour Party while they're in power? You know, what do they need to try and prove, and who do they think can do it for those 5 years?
I think
This is one of the things I've been talking about for years, since Boris Johnson and him leaving, that it's going to
would love
be
to be in
a
opposition.
massive civil war. It is going to be on proportions we have not seen.
But
I think this whole net zero U-turn, I think that's stirring a lot of feathers. I think that could potentially cause a civil war within itself, because you've got green Tories that are actually pro net zero. You've got the green Tories that are like, well, we like net zero, but we want a business case for it. And then you've got the Tories that are anti net zero because their voters are against it. And then you've got the Liz Truss types who are just completely anti net zero.
Because they have a business case against it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are your factions that you've got for the whole this net zero nonsense at the moment, and they are just fighting against each other.
So who do they think can win in 2030 for them? I mean, that's the thing, right? So who can get them there over the line?
Well, that's the thing. The front bench has been decimated,
Mm.
and like everyone who was there is now sitting at the back, twiddling their thumbs or tweeting.
Yeah.
And you look at the front, and you're like, it's just a dirge of uselessness.
Oliver
Well,
Dowding, maybe?
Well, this is it.
Yeah, you're right. Who's left?
This is the opportunity that has been given to us. The Tory party is probably not going to sort itself out for at least a decade, if not more.
You're right, yeah.
And this gives us such a massive opportunity in terms of being able to do some really good stuff and some really good progressive policies in the future, because they're not just going to exist practically, or they're going to be there, but they're just going to be fighting amongst themselves like cats and dogs in a constant state of infighting. So this is the opportunity that is before us, and it is a massive opportunity to
I completely agree. I mean, I'm going to plug this a little bit, right? But no, the point is,
Stop the Tories, stop vote.
yeah, I mean, we're going to show up, right? Millions of people are going to show up because they're angry with what we've been, going through for the last 13 years. They want to get the Tories out, but that is not their only goal, right? They actually want to improve their lives, right? That's what they actually want. So really what we need to be doing is not only showing up to get the Tories out, but making it very clear that it was us that did that for that reason. And it's not just because we're buying whatever is being sold to us about what comes next, but because we want to actually, define what comes next, right? And that we do want that bold, radical stuff that actually turns out is very popular, So I completely agree. Getting rid of the Tories, not enough, absolutely not. I think we should set very high expectations for what we want, coming next.
I mean, let's go back to Uxbridge, the Uxbridge by-election. The Labour candidate was pro-PR. And that was a massive shame that he was not elected, because if you want PR, that's the people we need in government.
Yeah.
You might not like the rest of the party, but if you want to improve like politics in the UK, PR is a massive way to do that. And to do that, you need people like him in Parliament talking about PR, championing it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately lost.
Completely agree. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, and you also need a government in power that's willing to do it as well, right? Or can be persuaded to do it.
Well, the thing is, because the failure of Nick Clegg to get PR through was it just didn't resonate, and he was already kind of kippered by the student loan business, so no one was really paying any attention to him when he was trying to get the PR thing through. And there was no real coverage in the media. It was just, I think it was like 30% turnout on the vote.
Yeah,
on the
this
PR
was the
referendum.
AV referendum, wasn't it? Well, it wasn't PR as such; it was AV, so it was going to be instead of an X, you put 1, 2, and 3, and your votes go to the next candidate, which is a better way of doing it than what we've got at the moment. I always remember, like, I was in Australia when the results came through, and there was this really snide Sydney side presenter who talked through her nose in that really sort of Sydney voice, and she was like, "I'm here in London," and she was just sneering and sniggering at the fact that Britain felt that the system that Australia had had for the last 50 years was too complicated for British people, and I was just like dying because all these Australians looking at me going, "Are you not really that stupid?" I'm like, no.
Also, their system is actually way more complicated than that would have been. Like, it's next level, actually.
And compulsory.
Yeah.
And compulsory, yeah, you have to vote in Australia, which doesn't always result in the result that you want.
I kind of feel that if we'd got AV in the 2010s, then PR wouldn't be on the table now, I don't think.
Yeah.
And we would be stuck with that. And I also think that Nick Clegg probably wasn't as into it as it might have looked. I think he had quite a different agenda than appeared. Certainly you can see that in what he's been doing recently.
I think he just wanted to get into power. And now, is he still at Facebook?
I believe so. Yeah. But I think this is right, and someone else be able to look this up. But apparently, what I've heard is that he only joins the Lib Dems because he didn't think he'd be able to become the leader of the Conservative Party.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I understand. So actually, he was a bit reluctant to be there in the first place. He was quite happy to go into partnership with the Tories because he thought, this is my chance. But
yeah, as long as I could be deputy, please. I'll sit next to you and everything.
And then they had, our meeting finishes at 2, Nick. You should get going now. We're all finishing. And then they'd watch him leave the room, and then they'd start the real meeting.
But that's the thing about that.
I'm doing that fake yawning. Oh, it's bedtime already. Night, Nick.
You can imagine that there were essentially 2 sets of meetings going on the whole time, right? Just like, you can also think that go on in the Conservative Party right now. You've got the ERG side, and then the One Nation on the other side, maybe. Having completely different meetings, and it happens in every party, and I think PR would work towards solving that as well.
Yeah, absolutely, I do agree. And we would just to go back into the Tories for a moment. Phil was basically saying, if it was up to the MPs, they'll get someone sensible in after they lose the next election. It's not up to the MPs, it's up to the party members, and the party members are all batshit insane, so they'll end up with Suella Braverman.
Oh God, please don't.
Or Liz Truss.
The way they've run it is essentially as a popularity contest, haven't they? Because they've done it all through the newspapers and TV, so... Yeah.
Lee Anderson.
Do not underestimate the fact that Liz Truss, she's coming back. She's coming back for round 2. Liz Truss 2, Revenge of the Truss.
She's got some incredible ideas, and the best way to, work on those is to get elected into some sort of position of power, so...
Sorry to put a damper on this, but Graham brought him up. I was unfortunate enough to watch old Leenock interview Jim Davidson, and
oh my God, that's like onion layers of hell. Oh my God,
squared.
How did you survive? How did you not melt like the Nazis at the end of Indiana Jones?
Jim Davidson he mentioned his Chalky character. And like Lee Anderson saying, "Oh yeah, people just don't get jokes like they used to." What do you mean racism?
Yeah, they're all racist like they used to be.
I was just like, I can't believe this. And of course, it was on GB News,
There were 2 shows in the 1970s. There was Love Thy Neighbour, which was just insanely racist, and then there was another one called Mind Your Language.
Do you know they repeated that in the 90s? I remember seeing that. Yeah, I was watching. It was on either after or before Neighbours in the afternoon. When they used to put Neighbours on at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, it was on before, and I was like, "Oh, this is weird." And it was all like the comedy accents and all the stereotypes and all that. And I didn't think too much of it at the time. And then it got mentioned sort of in the noughties about Love Thy Neighbour and Mind Your Language. I was like, I used to watch that. But because I was all young and naive, I just thought, that's just shit comedy from the 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe I was repeating it in the 90s.
What we're seeing now, a lot of the stuff that happened sort of 10, 20 years ago, well, 20 years ago, actually, there was stuff going on that, you would think that if we were so woke and so enlightened and so precious about, you know, any kind of slight or bit of misogyny or sexism or racism, this wouldn't have happened. And it did. And it just completely did, because the people who want us to be a horrible, nasty society that's just horrible to everyone are in power. They always have been. They always will be.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, you know, and there's a great line, and I don't know who said it, but I'd like to shake their hand. They say, when you are used to privilege, equality feels like oppression.
Yeah.
And that's why you get so many people who get their backs up when we talk about male privilege or white privilege, and they go, oh, I grew up in a working class family. And I'm like, it's not about having loads of money. It's about being able to walk down the street and not think, oh, I hope I don't get pulled over by the police and beaten up for no reason tonight. Or if you're a woman, I hope I can walk home and not get sexually assaulted on the way home tonight. Books and things like that.
We spoke about this last night, and it's the people that kick off the most are the people that want to feel special because they feel that everyone else has got, you know, you got Pride, you got Black History Month, you've got, you know, Holocaust Memorial and all these kind of things.
Where's Straight History Month?
Yeah. It's like, where's Straight History Month? Where's International Men's Day? Yeah, and
it's November, isn't it?
November, yeah. And it's just like, you Google it, there you go, mate. There you go.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can't we have this day? And it's like, because you've been running shit since day one. You know, all it is just saying this group want to celebrate who they are. You celebrate all the time because you're just carrying on. Yeah. You know, you ain't got to worry about these issues. You ain't got to worry about, you know, I'm a 6'3" mixed race geezer. I could be quite intimidating, that little old lady, but you could walk up to her and she'd be cushy with you. You know, those little things that you don't notice.
Yeah.
But I do, and I have to be aware of that at all times.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm walking up behind a lady, I just walk fast. I'm walking past her to go to the shop, and you see her tent up. It's like, you want to say,
cross the road, mate. Cross the road. We need a new bloke's code that tells us stuff like, you know, if it's dark and you're walking and there's a woman in front of you, cross the fucking road and just walk on the other side of the road. No skin off your nose. Do you know what I mean? It just means that person is not going to get stressed the fuck out about the fact that there's a bloke walking fast behind her. You know, it's just little things like that you might not necessarily think about till someone points it out, but once they do, you'll always do it.
Yeah. I'm that fast-walking bloke who always, in my mind, wishes I had a cattle prodder and I could just point people to walk faster in front of me.
Or the people in front had indicators.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know the worst one? You know, you're walking behind someone and then they just stop. Just fucking hate that, especially in like supermarkets. It's like Dawn of the Dead.
I was driven absolutely crazy today. I was on a walk this morning. It was even worse than that because they were blocking the whole pavement, so I couldn't even get past them. And I was just like, well, how are you blocking the pavement? Because she had a pram. Now, instead of walking behind the pram, she was like walking
with a phone
onto the side like that. So she's here where I am, and then her pram's there, and she's just blocking the whole road. And I'm like, I can't get by you.
Did you not kick the pram? Did you not kick the pram, Ollie? Oh my god. Okay. Let's talk about this bloke's code then. Anyway, Johnny's got a brilliant idea here, which I think we should run with this, right? £5 super chat, thank you very much, Johnny. I demand we have a hateful white male bigot day. Yes. Yeah.
We can put them all in the same room.
Yes. So, no, but every time they go, when's my day? You go, here you go. And it's like a day of the year. Maybe it could be like February the 29th. So it's only once every 4 years.
I think you'll find that was an EDL march.
Yeah, you go. That's when hateful white male bigots have their day and we burn effigies of them.
Put them on that island of all the libertarians.
Yeah, like Guy Fawkes night. We name it after the bad guy, apparently.
Who will survive?
Right.
Hunger Games of libertarians and fucking ADL people.
To bring this full circle, that book actually ends in a very angry horse called Hurricane.
Sorry, Richard, is this your libertarian book? What?
Yeah, that's the the libertarian walks into a bear. I recommend it.
I want to read this book now.
I'm going to see if I've got Audible right now.
There is, I can't remember who it was, but someone was talking about, the billionaires in the apocalypse trying to make sure that their bodyguards don't basically, either abandon them or take over. There was literally a conference about that about 6 or 7 years ago, right? Where literally there was a load of billionaires talking about, the future and climate change and everything else. And the main topic was, what can I do to make sure that my staff don't revolt? That was literally it. It's very well documented. It wasn't a closed doors thing or anything. There's conferences out there. Yeah, it is incredible. So yeah, they actually are thinking about that. It is the problem for them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's going to be a problem if it happens, because it's going to be like the fucking purge. And if they're in their house, in their panic room, and their house has been taken over by a bunch of people who just want to live there, that's it. They're stuffed. There's no police to call. There he goes. I can see it.
Yeah. Just bought it on Audible. I'll give that a listen later.
Excellent. Good stuff.
Fantastic.
Well worth it.
I'll get back to you next week on what I think. Do a book review.
It's a fun ride. Oh, book reviews. I'm all about the book reviews.
Oh, Jesus.
I've got to go, guys. So
okay, man. Well, we're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes. It's nearly half past. So if you want to hang on for 2 more minutes.
Also, as we just recommend some more books. Paint Your Town Red. I always recommend this. Very, very good book.
I think you've shown us that before. Is that about being a big communist?
It's like how you can bring socialism to your town council. Very good, actually.
Ginger.
Very good. And how to get involved on local politics as well. So very, very good. Highly recommend it.
I would highly recommend this one. This is called Against the Web by the late Michael Brooks, who used to be the co-presenter on the Majority Report with Sam Cedar.
Yes.
Fantastic book. Very good book.
And I don't recommend this one.
Oh, Jesus.
However, fascinating read and insight into what went on. Very interesting, to say the least. Very interesting indeed.
Can I recommend the travel book, The Lonely Planet?
Oh, why would you
A journey
recommend that?
to every country in the world.
Who wrote that?
I didn't write it. This is my friend's copy.
And also,
it's a lovely book.
Fans of Mystery Hour. These are the New Scientist books with things like why elephants can't jump.
Because they're too big. Next.
So this is why I've got so many rounds of applause on Mystery Hour, because I read books like this.
You've had a fucking Ray Liotta, haven't you? You and Kieran, the van driver.
Yes.
I found this out while I was in the car with Kieran. We had just done a run over to Luxembourg, and we were chatting with you in the car, weren't we? And you mentioned, was it Kieran mentioned that he got a Ray Liotta? Yeah. And then you went, I've got one as well.
Yeah.
And I because there was a question about traveling around the world without flying and how long it would take. So I called in, and I just got a round of applause.
Yeah.
Well, and he's like, "What's your qualifications?" Literally went round the world without flying.
Do you know what? To be fair, my Ray Liotta was pretty weak.
I know. That makes it even worse.
A woman rang in to talk about solar panels. I was like, "All right, I'm having that."
Well, it is your job, so yeah, I get that. Right, well, we're going to leave it at that because I've got to be up early in the morning to go and march against Brexit.
Do march for me as well.
Yes, I'll be marching for you three as well because I know you can't make it for various reasons.
I should send you a Yorkshire flag.
I've got my EU flag. I've got my EU flag, and I've got my old bollocks to Brexit beanie. So it's all going to be good.
This is it. I need to get some EU stars put around this.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. Someone said it looks like you got a pair of big ears and a bow across your forehead, across your head. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for all the chats. Thanks for all the super chats. I'll be back tomorrow, so I don't know when we're going to be jumping in live into the march, but I'll try and get some people who are marching with us and get them to talk about where they're there and what we're doing. It will depend on my internet connection, so just look out. I'll just be on my phone, but otherwise there'll be a bunch of videos hopefully going online on Sunday. Not just Phil's weekly dive into Labour policy, which is called Labour Vision, but also some little clips that I'll get tomorrow at the march. And yeah, that's about it. I think I'll just enough to say have a great night, have an awesome weekend. Thank you to my guests. Ollie and Wayne and Josh down there, and also Femi, who turned up to be like, I'm on a train, and then he disappeared. But yeah, we should be able to hear more from him tomorrow. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Oh no, it's too slow. Okay, right, everyone wave.